Hello, everybody. Aloha and welcome. I'm Natalie, and this is Life After a Cult, the channel where we expose cult nonsense. We laugh at the absurdities, and we hopefully unbrainwash ourselves in the process. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I see you all in the live chat. Thank you, moderators, for being here, and members. Everybody in the live chat, if you have a question, put question in front, and we'll try and catch as many of those as we can today, because today is going to be a fun day. We have William Gude in the house. He is going to be chatting with us. You might know William Gude from Film the Police LA is one of his YouTube channels. The other one is Scientology Audit Streets LA, and Gude is credited with starting the most recent round of protesting Scientology, live streaming, putting it across multiple platforms. Many of you are familiar with who he is, but I thought we'd do a little refresh for a lot of people who are new to the channel. So again, if you have any questions, make it obvious it's a question. We got Nancy starring some questions and we'll get going. So I'd like to welcome here. Welcome, William.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Doing pretty good. It's a beautiful day. It's like 85 degrees. Doesn't get better than that.
Okay, now you're making me jealous. It's like not even 40 here.
Not even 40.
No, it was like 30 something earlier. Yeah, it's complete and utter BS. I live in the Midwest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I prefer 84, but 85 is better. It's okay. I can work with that.
Yeah. Well, in LA, it seems like it's just always the same. No rain, 80s.
Yeah. But I mean, then when we don't have rain, then we end up with like forest fires and other things like earthquakes and
that's why I will not live there. I will not live there. I'm convinced that California is going to fall off into the ocean at some point.
It might, but it'll be nice until then.
Well, maybe it'll be an island. Now, I wanted to share with everybody, kind of like go back a little bit. And can you kind of tell our audience, because there's people who, the vast majority of my audience knows who you are. We highlight a lot of your content, either on Film the Police or Scientology Audit Streets LA. But can you tell us again how you got started protesting Scientology?
Yeah, I mean, I started off, listen, I'm a cop watcher, a police accountability activist. And in the course of doing that, I was filming a police stop one night. It was on the side of one of their buildings. And they gave me a hard time while I was filming the police stop. Got into an argument with the security guard. He said some things that were unfortunate. And so because of that, I said, okay, I'm gonna end your religion now. And started off just posting videos on TikTok for a few months and doing a little protesting outside of the test center. And then from there, started doing some live streaming on TikTok. And then dozens of other people started showing up. And then before you know it, we had huge crowds and started incorporating YouTube into it. But no, we started we started a new wave of protests against the Church of Scientology that I think went very viral. It brought in a lot of younger people who knew nothing about it. And I think we brought a lot of attention to the Church of Scientology. And the end result was for about a year, they completely stopped recruiting at the test center in Hollywood. They're trying to creep back out there now, but I don't think they're having much success.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. I think what was so great about this and the way that it ended up organically happening using social media in this way, in this day and age of live streaming, is what has taken standing up to a bully like Scientology to an entire different level, because you can reach so many people. The channel you started to protest Scientology, I mean, blew up. I think you're well over 200,000 subscribers now, but like within months that kind of happened. Did that surprise you at all?
Yes, yeah, it did. I mean, in a way. So the night when I got into my argument with the security guard for the Church of Scientology, I kind of had a plan. I'm like, you know what, I can post clips on TikTok, and I actually know that this sort of content will blow up. And my goal was to encourage people who were, like First Amendment auditors to start auditing Church of Scientology, being that they're a target-rich environment, and on top of it, you would be targeting somebody who most people seem to sort of dislike, and you wouldn't be annoying regular people. A lot of the auditors spend time at, auditing hospitals or standing around post offices or libraries filming, irritating people. Rather than do that, you can target the Church of Scientology, bring some attention to them. And, I thought that it would end up going viral. And quite honestly, it did. It went more viral than I expected so quickly. I kind of had a plan on, I figured it would take about a year to get to a certain point. I think we reached that point in a few months. So yeah, when I started my YouTube channel, I think within like 2 months, I had 200,000 subscribers. It just absolutely exploded. So yeah, that surprised me, but I had a plan from the beginning. I feel like I achieved a lot of it. So
Yeah. What was when it's interesting talking to you now because it's been well over a year. And I think the last time I talked to you, I might have asked you this, but what are some of the things that surprised you the most about whether it was protesting Scientology or the way that so many people started to show up? Just your experience, because you went from cop watching to just full in on Scientology. Did anything really surprise you about that?
I was surprised by how hard the LAPD would fight to cover for them. I was surprised by that.
Mhm.
I guess I was surprised by how petty they would be. And I think I'm surprised by how ineffective, quite honestly, they've been trying to combat what we're doing. I think I'm surprised by how slow to react they have been. They've been very reactive and
Mhm.
they haven't been able to get ahead of things. And they've sort of, I don't know, just sabotaged themselves every step of the way. So I've been sort of surprised by that. I've been surprised by how ineffective they've been.
Yeah. It really seems that on the part of, I think, Scientology and also the LAPD, that they underestimated you largely, but then everyone else who came and started to protest. And as this protest grew, not just across the United States, but even in Europe and other parts of the world, in Australia, in the UK, in Denmark, just all over Germany. I just shared a video this morning from a conversation in Germany, somebody showing up and asking questions of a Scientology staff member, which they so horribly answered. But that is something too. I started on YouTube a couple months after you started with the Hollywood Testing Center protests. And I was really surprised too, and pleasantly surprised by just how much it took on a life of its own and the interest in exposing Scientology. And as a former Scientologist, I grew up in Scientology, seeing people like seeing you and others show up and stand up to Scientology was so amazing as a former Scientologist. And as a child growing up in Scientology, it just felt like somebody was finally doing it and doing it in such a different way that was so visual. I immediately was like all in on it. And I'm still so amazed at the heart, the time that you and so many other people put into protesting and exposing Scientology. And that the fact that it's so that where you're located, it's so tied into the corruption within the LAPD. That did any of that surprise you? Did you find that out for the first time when you were protesting Scientology, or were you already aware that the LAPD was pretty deep in bed with Scientology?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard stories about it, but I hadn't had any interactions in a way that I saw it for myself. I noticed the night when I had my first argument with the security guard for the Church of Scientology, the way he was trying to appeal to the LAPD, and they were not reacting to him, and I think that surprised him. So my thing is, listen, I've been a cop watcher for years, and I go after the Hollywood LAPD pretty hard. And I think that if I were somebody else, maybe the LAPD would have stepped in and tried to stop, you know, would have tried to come and, interjected on behalf of the Church of Scientology, but they weren't going to do it with me. And so it was a unique situation on because I felt like I was uniquely positioned in a way that I could go after the Scientology effectively without having the LAPD on my back. The LAPD is not going to just try to arrest me willy-nilly for the Church of Scientology. They're going to be extra cautious in a way that they wouldn't necessarily be with somebody else.
Mhm.
So, I didn't know really what to expect. I just, I had a lot of faith in myself, and I feel like if I'm going to start a fight, I'm going to figure out a way to accomplish it. And so, listen, I feel like we're on the way there now. For the last year or so, I have stepped back, but I stepped back for good reason. I have other things I had to work on. And my thing is, as long as the test center is closed, there's not much for me to protest. I don't really feel like standing around a building kind of yelling at walls and windows. It's not a good use of my time. But now that they're trying to creep back out there again, they're going to have to pay for that. It just, quite honestly, I'll stop by there every day and I'll find a way to film them and I'll post a video. And the next thing you know, it has lots of views and you have new people coming in and saying, hey, what is this Scientology stuff? And I go into my comments and it's full of stuff like that. What's the Scientology stuff? And that's good. We want people asking that question because when people find out about what they really are, as opposed to what the Church of Scientology tries to portray themselves as being, then that's a win for us, because nobody in the right mind, having looked at it through, organic means of searching it up, is going to say, this place is appealing. I need to become part of that. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Using social media too, it's such a great way to reach younger people. And I say that as a woman in her 50s. So everybody who's like millennials and Gen Z is all younger people to me. Reaching them that way, I think, has been really amazing, because people, kids, young people who would have no necessarily an introduction to what Scientology really is, are able to catch it on social media through reels and shorts and these just little ways of just grabbing onto what it is, and to do it in a way that's so, at times, entertaining and fun, and at other times stressful but still entertaining, because things would get heated when the police would show up and there can be a lot going on at times. Right now, with the test center fairly, like you said, they are starting to open the doors. They are trying to go out and recruit again right in front. If people wanted to start protesting Scientology in Hollywood, what would you recommend that they do if they wanted to, just participate and do something to help, or do some live streaming?
I'll tell you what, they're doing it right now. Every day, I guarantee right now, or within the next 15 or 20 minutes, there's going to be somebody that's going to be walking past the test center with their phone saying, oh, this is that place. And they'll try recording Twillo or Shannon, and they're going to close the doors. So that's all it really takes. At the end of the day, the test center is there to try to recruit new people and to get money. If we force them inside, they can't recruit new people or get new money. So what I recommend is, hey, just go by there and film. Ask some questions. Ask some basic questions, not their scripted questions. Ask, you can go onto WikiLeaks and look up the operating themes and just read it to them. Read some of the stuff. I do it every day. I just, I pick up something new, something that sounds absolutely ridiculous, and I read it to them. And it's a way to, first off, I get their reaction. They're going to run inside, and secondly, show people, hey, this is what they really believe. All right. All the stuff they're going to try to sell you right now, their movie and their stress test, personality test, and all other stuff. That's not what this is about. This is what they really believe, and this is what they're about. And listen, good story about Zeno always takes care of things.
Yeah, I saw that one video, the short you did, where you were talking to these young guys out front and telling them about the galactic overlord and what happened and what body thetans are. And their eyes were just like,
so the funny thing about that is those kids, so they're kind of trying to play it off. They came to Hollywood Boulevard, but they specifically were there. They wanted to go walk up to the test center because they had seen these videos that I've been posting some for about a week or two now. And they had seen those and they wanted to go out there and go talk to the Scientologists themselves. So these were new people that came in, not from a year and a half ago, but have come around in the last few weeks. And it shows that they're there on Hollywood Boulevard. They're going to be the only young people or not so young people who are going to come to Hollywood Boulevard just to confront or be, hey, listen, they're curious. They have some questions and they have, good on them for going there and asking questions. That's how we'll beat them, right? We'll just by getting more and more people to go out there and do that. Just become self-aware and just to warn other people, hey, you know what, mom, dad, cousin, sister, brother, that place right there, that's a cult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. It's so much more obvious to people in general who even in outside of Los Angeles, because again, these protests started popping up all over the place and are still going. There's protesters still in Austin, San Francisco, there's people in New York, Boston, just all over. Even there are some protesters who have been to 4, 5, 6 different Scientology locations too, and are doing the same thing. So I think
the key thing though is making sure that everybody stays positive and tries to work with each other. I think that creates an environment that makes other people want to come, makes people want to show up, makes people say, you know what, it's Friday night, let's go drive an hour over there just to see the people out in front of the test center and, have a little party and stuff. So keeping it positive matters.
Yeah, I agree. In Clearwater, their protest has been growing. They go out, some others go out different days of the week, but they do a regular protest in Clearwater on Friday nights. And a lot of people enjoy watching it. I watch it and it's growing. They had over 20 people there. I don't know about last Friday, but the Friday before for sure. Right after, one of the protesters who doesn't even live stream, I don't know if you heard about this, Erica, she's out there multiple times a week exposing Scientology, and she doesn't live stream or anything, and she got arrested. They held her in jail overnight and into the day.
Outrageous, we've seen plenty of that here in Hollywood, right? And it's funny how the police are always coming to their rescue, but you know what, when you get it on video, it's also showing the public exactly what happens. I was out there, there was a YouTube documentarian, not going to mention the name, but they're pretty large, and they were here doing some filming on Scientology the other day, and I was showing them around, took them over to the test center, showed them the blue building, and they got out of the car to film. Well, next thing you know, there was a citizen alert and the police showed up. Church of Scientology claimed that they were trying to burglarize the blue building. So that's
so right off the bat, they got to see.
Yeah, they got a chance to see for themselves how they abuse it, because they've filmed everything, and they certainly were not trying to burglarize the blue building. They did try to confront Jennifer. Jennifer happened to be walking to the street, and I said, hey, yeah, that's their legal affairs person. Go ask her some questions. And next thing you know, the security guards were threatening to pepper spray them. And then, the 911 call came in for 5 people trying to burglarize the blue building.
And you were there too? Were you there as well?
Yeah, I was there. I was there. When is that? We went there, and then they ran over to Wendy's to use the bathroom, and then came back, and the police cars were there, and we drove right past them. They came, lights and sirens and everything, and I could hear Jennifer, whoever, saying, "That's them right there." And the cops didn't do anything because no crime was committed. But here we are with them abusing the 911 system and the legal system once again, and just straight up lying. And there should be repercussions for that, for claiming that we were burglarizing the blue building.
Yeah, there should be. And I think that's something, when I say Scientology has really underestimated you, I can't think of another person, because of your work with the LAPD, being a cop watcher in LA, especially with the Hollywood division and Scientology. It is just the perfect storm, because it serves 2 purposes, but they're so deeply tied together. And one thing that I've witnessed over the last year of these protests and things going on is the number of people, many, myself included, learning for the first time what our rights are as citizens. So many people, myself included, didn't know. And I think that's a side effect that has come out of these protests, of the average citizen. People are watching, learning and understanding, like, hey, that's not right, and I just, it's like if there's one person in Hollywood that could have done this, I think you're the perfect person for it because of the work you've done with the LAPD.
No, I agree. It gave me a leg up on things. Listen, the Church of Scientology, I've always felt, gets a lot of mileage off of a perception that their fair gaming tactics are so awful, that they always retaliate, that they have a stranglehold over the legal system, they have a stranglehold over the LAPD. And I think what they've come to find out in a lot of instances is that no, actually, the LAPD won't be able to save you this time when you know your rights. When you stand up to them, when the LAPD shows up, you can say, you know what, I didn't violate any laws. Has there been a crime here? If there hasn't been a crime, there's really no reason for you to be here. So you have that one aspect. And then you have another aspect that shows them abusing the legal system in other ways. So, yeah, I know it has been sort of a perfect storm. Looking at it from the outside, looking in, it's been helpful with the fact that I'm so involved with the LAPD and I have a certain standing with them in the sense that it offers me protection and it offers people around me a certain protection in a way that other people wouldn't have if they'd come out here for the first time and don't have that relationship.
Yeah, well, I would agree with that. I remember one of the videos seeing where you were live and a cop car pulls up because you're being swatted, but he doesn't even get out of the car.
I asked him, "What do you want to do? You want to do it?" And they know, because listen, if he had gotten out of the car and he had searched me and did the whole thing, that would have been followed up with something to the police chief, and I would have forced him to answer for it, and it would put everybody in a position that they wouldn't want to be in. It's just not worth the headache. And not to mention, they know me. I'm not going to be out here carrying a gun, especially when I'm out there jogging. I'm in my jogging outfit. Like I'm going to have this gun packed on me somewhere. No, but yeah, they knew. That cop knew.
Yeah. Are you still doing it? Have you done any marathons lately? I know you're a runner.
No, I right now I'm worried I have a broken foot. So trying to get back into running. It seems like I broke my foot like a year and a half ago and then it's fine. And then recently it's been bothering me. So no marathons, although I'd like to run one for in October. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I'm going to grab a couple of these questions so I don't fall too far behind. Rabbit, Down the Rabbit Hole News, my two favorites. Good to see you, Rabbit. Let's see. Super Weekend Warriors is asking, did you represent yourself in the case that you won where the defendant had to pay $150,000?
No, I was represented by Dorothy and Matthew Struger.
That is what I thought. Let's see. Jay Chucky wants to know, does Will know if Costa or Joey ever paid Dorothy, your attorney?
No. So, yeah, Joey's claiming he doesn't have any money.
I saw that in a video.
Listen, we're gonna have an interesting confrontation the next time I see Joey. And then Francois, she went to when we were awarded the money, the Francois and her lawyer asked if we could set up some sort of I don't know, a meeting so we can discuss on how to make payments, and the meeting never came about. And since then, they just been ghosting. They're not answering emails, nothing. So let's see how that plays out. I do know that if you go in front of La Poubelle right now, they have a tarot card table set up out in front of there. So
interesting.
That's interesting. I think I might go by and get and get a reading. I should do that.
You should totally do it, but you got to share it because we all want to know what comes up with the cards.
100%.
Letha has a great question and comment because other people have asked this. I'm a never in, and I'm not being political, but couldn't ICE go in and stop the trafficking? That's been a question that I've gotten a few times, and I've not been sure how to answer it because, as you know, in Scientology, in the Sea Org, it is common that they recruit people from other countries and then they hold on to their passports, or they recruit people from other countries even there and be like, oh, we can give you room and board and we can help you with a religious visa. What do you think about that?
In theory, I mean, I suppose, but it'll never happen. I don't think they want to get involved with going into, whether we like it or not, Church of Scientology is recognized as a religious organization. And that's just something that I don't think there'll be a lot of blowback, and it'll set a precedence that would probably that sort of precedence would probably be something that political figures wouldn't want to touch in a million years. So, I mean, like I said, in theory, I suppose, but I don't think that'll ever happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of thought that too. I don't see them showing up and doing a raid or anything like that on Scientology. It'd be great in ways, but so there's a couple comments in here. People are talking a lot about your lips, so I'm just going to address it. This is Jocelyn from Justice Chat. I love Natalie. Okay, that's what they're talking about. Your lips are moisturized enough for kissing contest.
Yeah, no, the Barbie chapstick.
Okay, so it's true because Brooke Elliott's like, do you really carry Barbie lip balm?
Yeah, I had chapped lips one time. Somebody sent Jessica like a 12 pack of these things as a joke, and I tried it and it worked. So I was like, all right.
That's funny. Let's see. Somebody else was asking, where did it go? Itchy Thayton says they really stepped in it when they arrested Aaron. I don't think they would have done that if Streets was there. Yeah, that's a little over a year ago that I think they picked up Aaron Smith-Levin when he was in town.
Wasn't it January 19th or January 20th of last year?
Yeah.
And when they closed the test center? That same day. That was the last day that the test center was open. They closed up early that day when Aaron got arrested. They closed up, and they never opened again after that until they started opening the doors recently. So that was the sort of catalyst for the doors sort of closing for that period of time.
Huh. I wonder why at that time, I think
they were reaching a boiling point.
Yeah.
Leading up to that point, it got to I haven't really talked about this much. People who were out there would know how I felt, like the protesters. I was getting overwhelmed by the protests because they were becoming too big, and I knew that at a certain point they were going to become destructive. They had already taken one of the numbers down from the building, from their address. One time when I wasn't there, but I found out about it, I was infuriated. So I literally hired somebody to do security to keep the sidewalks clear, and it was impossible. There were, we were getting to the point where it was like 75 people, 100 people, and they couldn't operate at that point. And then when Aaron came out, I'll be honest with you, that night, they're sitting in front of the police station. There's like 50 people chanting and stuff, let them go. They knew they had to shut down. And it was smart. It was totally smart on Church of Scientology's part to shut down the test center, because what happened? I said, once they shut down, people are going to have nothing to talk about, nothing to protest. So you're going to start a lot of infighting, all the interpersonal beefs. And it did happen. I won't get into all that, but it did happen. Yeah. And look, now it's starting to open again. They're starting to get more positive videos coming out. Have the infighting and the drama, and people will rally behind that. So yes, they were smart to close it. I think they're crazy to reopen right now, but they're probably thinking, we need to bring in this money. Mm-hmm. We need to bring in recruits. Mm-hmm. And where are they doing it at? There's nowhere else in LA that you can actually, I guess, they're Pasadena little missions and stuff. That's not cutting it. There's nothing like being on Hollywood and Highland, where you have all these people who have tourists, so they have time on their hands. They have disposable income, and, they're coming from all over the world. And sometimes there's sort of a language barrier that they can play on, because they all seem fluent in multiple languages. So having that shut down for a year hurt. And, I know they're trying to stick their toes back out right now. And it's my whole goal right now to make sure that that's as uncomfortable as possible for them.
Yeah. I think they thought that they would shut it down, at least front facing, and kind of play dead. They're playing possum is what they were doing. I think they felt that was like, that if they did that long enough, that people would lose interest and just go away. And then if they could bring their own Scientology branded way of messing with people by inserting their trolls and trying to make situations that are already volatile even worse, doing their own Scientology trolling, I don't doubt they wanted an opportunity to kind of get in and do that, which they did. They do. They always will. But it didn't work. And this again is where I feel that Scientology greatly underestimates you and other people who are passionate about this and who are not just going to let it go because they played possum for a while.
Well, listen, the other night, Jessica drove me home from Hollywood Boulevard and dropped me off in front of my house. As she drove away, she was followed by a car, and she realized she was being followed. And then when she got to a light and turned green, she just sat there, and sat there with the car behind them. So finally, they just went and drove around her and started going. So then she followed them. So she and they had here's the worst part. They actually had a Scientology logo on the back of their car. Like, why would you do that? And my thing is, first off, why would you think that you were going to intimidate her? What is the point about that? It seemed to me because there are multiple people's videos going viral. My mod Kathy had one that had like 20 something million views, and it was a really good video of her, confronting some kids that were at the Scientology doorway. I think that scares the church, and I think that you may have some new people in there that think that, okay, we're going to try these fair game tactics, but I guess they didn't know Jessica. I guess they thought that somehow that was going to scare her, or maybe it would scare me, or I don't think that's scaring many people anymore. Okay, that stuff is not working. So listen, I don't know where they go from there. I don't know what the answer is. They're going to go out of business one way or another. We'd like to speed up the process. And I think sometimes when they try to react to that and try to do their thing, they actually make it worse for themselves. And I enjoy capitalizing on it.
Yeah, they do. They really do. I always say Scientology is their own worst enemy. They're the ones shooting themselves in the foot. They don't need to look around at looking for anyone else as to why Scientology continues to shrink. It is them.
I got to tell you, it's a certain look when I just come walking up and they go literally running inside. Why would you give me that? Yeah. Why would you give me? You're better off just standing there saying nothing than running inside, because then you post that online, and the next thing you know, it's just so funny, and it gets millions of views and thousands upon thousands of people asking, well, why'd they run? What is this? What is this Scientology? And then they start looking into it. And it creates a multiplier effect. People get information, they spread it out to other people. They're better off just standing there, but they shoot themselves in the foot by acting goofy with their reactions. Why can't you just stand there and have a conversation? I just feel like if I go to another religious organization and I ask them questions, they're not going to go running inside. They're going to stand there and answer the questions to the best of their ability. Why can't they do that?
Yeah. They used to be more confrontational when people would be picketing, especially in Clearwater back in the day of the Lisa McPherson Trust. They would send Scientologists out to try to bullbait them, to try to push their buttons. And it's like, you guys, it doesn't work, because with former Scientologists, we know what you're doing.
And these days, somebody just pull out a camera and film that and then post them, and they'll look ridiculous online. See, that's another thing. We're on social media, and they can't combat that. How do they combat social media? First off, they don't understand social media, and then they're limited in what they can say. It seems like everything has to fall back on a L. Ron Hubbard teaching. Well, I got to tell you, TikTok wasn't around back then when he was doing those teachings. So how do you combat these goofy interactions? I don't know. But, I enjoy it. I'll go around there later on, and hopefully they will do something super goofy, as they always do, which will get more views, which will have more people trying to find out about, what this cult is about.
Yeah. They don't realize too that when people see that, just like in the early days of the protests, other people want to do it too. And these days, being they're not open all the time, it's so easy. Like you said, just go casually walk by the test center, any other Scientology building, or if you see them out there selling Dianetics book, and just start filming and asking questions, and the whole thing will shut down.
Yes. That's all it takes. You pull out your phone, they're running inside. Or the newest thing is when they see, one of us coming, they have beepers on them and they start beeping and run inside. That's just the fact. I'm happy. First off, I'm happy that they're wasting resources on things like that, and they don't understand how ridiculous they look to the average person. So please continue doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Keep making the content, Scientology. Cassie,
Aloha.
thank you so much for the super chat. I just have a question, Shannon.
I
think
doesn't want to answer any questions.
she doesn't, and I think too. I was this morning when I was doing my recap, and we were showing a recent short of yours. There was Shannon and another guy who I've seen there before, and I was commenting that either he is a staff member or he's in trouble. Because what happens if you're in trouble? So if let's say you're a Scientology public and you're trying to get onto those upper levels, they'll have you go do things like hand out promo. That's what they call it, handing out promo. Or if, say, you got into some trouble and you have to make up the damage, you can go and hand out promo. Because I don't recognize that guy. I've seen him before. Scientologists don't tend to volunteer to do those things willingly.
Yeah, he comes out there with his bowling shirt on, and maybe it's because he looks like a more regular person. You know, it seemed like they always have them try to have very attractive young people out there doing it, and you see him come along, and it's like, wow, that's not the norm. It actually was at a point when he was first out there, I didn't know if he was part of the operation, and yeah, he doesn't look too thrilled to see me these days. He kind of rolls his eyes just like Twilla does too.
Yeah, I saw that. Hey, Jessica. I saw that. I noticed that. So next time if you see him, you could ask him, hey, why are you here? Are you doing lower conditions? So
hopefully I can get it out. He moves pretty quickly to those doors. I'm gonna ask him.
You should.
I'm gonna ask him, are you in trouble? Are you in
lower conditions is kind of the phrase, because there's these formulas you have to do, and the lower ones mean you're in trouble. So you'll get threatened with, like, do that. If you don't knock it off, I'm going to assign you a lower condition. Ooh. Or if it's like, yeah, well, he's in trouble, he's doing lowers or lower conditions. It's called lowers for short, is the slang. Okay. So you could say, like, are you in lowers? Are you doing lowers? What's going on? He will probably lose his mind, even if he's not.
I know exactly what I'm going to say now. I'll keep it secret.
That's right. Yeah. And anybody too who, when you're talking about Scientology, I do a lot of Scientology content on my channel, and I'm trying to do more around where if someone's new to the topic, like say they want to protest, that they can just pop on and see some videos and get a lot of that, what I hope to be useful information in protesting. Awesome. Does it matter to you? Not to me. They get the aloha button with the super chats. Says, William, are you still carrying Jessica's baby? Where is Gizmo and his beagle? Happy birthday, Jess. Serious, William, thank you for all you've done and are doing. I think those were the earlier rumors, right? That you were carrying Jessica's baby. That's one of the things I've enjoyed a lot too, is the energy and interactions with you and Jessica. I mean, her sense of humor is incredible.
Well, she's good. She's a good activist, right? I know she's a content creator and all that, social media personality, but she's down for any mission. You say to her, hey, you want to go to mission? She's not going to be like, what is it? She's like, let's go. And she's unafraid, and she's funny while doing it too. And a lot of this stuff requires humor, right? I think that's a great way to reach people, is if the content itself and the protest itself are always dark and negative, it's going to attract a certain type of people. It's going to turn off a certain type of people. But if people can protest but also laugh and be happy at the same time, it encourages more people to come in. And so, she's brought a lot to that.
Yeah, she really has. I love her sense of humor and complete lack of fear. And just like even what she did the other night by just then following the car. I mean, that was so smart. And again, this is where Scientology and Scientologists underestimate people, because within Scientology, you're often indoctrinated to believe that the rest of the world are somehow less than. They're not as capable. We're the capable ones that found Scientology, so we have to help these non-capable people. And really, it's completely switched.
Yeah, and then you knock them down a peg. They have all that hubris, and then you knock them down a peg, and they don't know how to handle it. They like you said, they look down on people, and they think they're smarter than everybody, and they're not. And then when you show them that they're not, they really just don't know how to react. And that's when they really start making mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. We've seen it over and over and over again. And, you know, what I like too is seeing how people who think Scientology is going to have their back, you know, that Scientology is going to keep supporting them if they try to interfere with people who are protesting or participate in some fair game activity. They're learning that no, they're not. They're not going to have your back. That
Ask Joey.
Scientology will use you.
Ask Joey. Joey
Yeah.
got cut off.
That's right. I think that's one of my favorite videos and shorts. I must have played like 4 different versions of it for people when Joey was tracing you down the street saying he didn't have any money.
Well, I mean, listen, Joey's been going to a professional complaining about how I stalked them, and somebody, not going to mention any names, somebody kind of showed that professional that video showing that, because Joey's claiming I was talking to him. And they're like, no, it doesn't happen. And they showed that person that video of Joey chasing me down the street. And all of a sudden, Joey doesn't talk to me anymore. So I wonder what happened there. Yeah. Joey's different. You know, Joey loves the attention. So Joey, you know, when you don't give him the attention that he wants, he doesn't know how to handle it. And that's put him in this position that he's in. Oh, well.
I would agree. Does it matter to you? Not to me. Says as an ex, a former Scientologist, I want to thank William and had the opportunity to do so at the encampment. He's a stand-up man.
I appreciate it.
Let's see. We already answered the question about Jessica's baby. Okay. I want to show you. I know there'll be a couple of more questions. Some of these we already answered. Danielle Chamberlain. Daniel Chamberlain was on the ship as a child with L. Ron Hubbard. When you hear the story of the kid being locked in the chain locker, that was Danielle Chamberlain. At least she was one of them. And she says, if Streets comes to the UK, he'd be most welcome. Thank you, Mr. Gude, for your help.
Appreciate you.
Let's see. Cats Hate Cult is asking, Will, did you ever find out who followed you home the other day?
No. Well, no, they didn't follow me home. They tried to follow Jessica, and I'm gonna leave that one unanswered for right now.
All right. Jay wants to know, can we bring back Good Girls After Dark?
We'll bring back Film the Police LA podcast after dark.
I'll have to keep an eye out for that. Eric Rader, good to see you. Respect must be given if you wish understanding to follow. Facts. Yeah,
Facts.
Very true. It does help. All right. I wanted to talk to you a little bit too about Karen Bass, who's the mayor of LA. And you have talked a lot about her. And Karen Bass, many, many years ago, she spoke at the Scientology event of opening up the Church of Scientology Los Angeles as an ideal organization. And I know you know this, and some of our audience does, but she went on and was one of the 3 speakers who was like, yes, Scientology is amazing, just reading a script. And then it came back to bite her on the butt later. So she tried to do some backpedaling about this, and it didn't seem to help her. And it seems to be almost that her connection, that one video, that one event she did with Scientology is one of the things that is now the biggest thorn in her side in ways. What do you think?
Listen, if you look at the demographics of Los Angeles, right? And it's just stepping back and looking at the politics without trying to take any political sides here. But Los Angeles is probably Los Angeles City, as opposed to Los Angeles County, is probably voted for, say, Kamala Harris 75 to Trump's 25. At best, it would be 70-30, right? So there's a 40-point gap. The last election for mayor, when Karen Bass was running, she was running against Rick Caruso, who had been a Republican until he decided to run.
Mhm.
From a demographic standpoint, Karen Bass should have won the mayor's race by 30 to 40 points. She didn't. She won it by a much smaller margin. And in my opinion, the biggest reason for that was because Rick Caruso ran an ad where he just literally played back Karen Bass's speech at the Church of Scientology. And it was so effective, and it became a huge talking point because then Karen Bass did everything she could to distance herself from the Church of Scientology, and it came up in debates. And quite honestly, the Church of Scientology tried to fight back. They put out their, I don't know what one of their entities was criticizing both Bass and Caruso for their bigoted language and they always jump to that bigoted word, right? They use that way too much.
It was the Stan League. It was the Stan League.
The Stan League, right? They had a huge thing. They were very angry about it. And so, yeah, like I said, Karen Bass should have won the election by a much bigger margin than she did. And I believe that her association with the Church of Scientology may have lost her 10, 20 points because they're just that toxic. And with that having been said, I guarantee that that speech is going to come up in this next election that we're going to have next year. I know that because I'm personally going to be talking about it. Listen, I'm not the biggest Karen Bass fan, as you may know. And there's a lot to criticize her for. But I honestly think I can criticize her for her scandals, for the corruption, and it's all valid. And I think, I don't think that would hurt her. But I still don't think anything hurts her as much as that speech and the language that she used in that speech. I don't think anything will hurt her as much as that. It's just an easy ad. I'd run it next election, just play her speech on 30-second clips on TV all day long, and she will have a terrible time trying to win re-election.
Yeah. My hope with that is that other politicians, other aspiring politicians, people in positions of power, which are the people that Scientology goes after to try and fake some support for them, that they'll see this and they'll think twice about it, about going and showing up at a Scientology event and singing their praises.
They got to do more than that. Like this next election we have coming out here in LA. Listen, every single council member I have some sort of beef with one way or another. There are questions that they should answer that the media is not asking them. And I'm going to want to make sure that I ask them those questions. But I could tell you one thing, whether it be me or anybody else, I've been saying this forever. You go up to any politician, doesn't matter if they're a governor, a mayor, a senator, a dog catcher, insurance commissioner, whatever it is, and ask them, should the Church of Scientology keep their tax exempt status? They may say, hey, listen, I have no control over that. I understand you have no control over that. I understand that. But knowing what you know, do you believe in your own heart that the Church of Scientology should keep their tax exempt status? Get them on record. Outside of Clearwater, I just can't imagine there are many politicians that will say, yes, they should keep their tax exempt status. If they do say that they should keep their tax exempt status, then whoever they are running against is going to be handed a huge gift, because they can just say, hey, these people will want to protect the Church of Scientology. And that will win over a ton of voters just from the bat. So I'm going to do it myself. And I feel like if I go and ask a couple of politicians about this question, and I post it on TikTok and on YouTube shorts and stuff, and I feel that it'll get a certain traction, and hopefully it'll encourage more people, especially young people, to go ask that question, whether it's here in LA or outside of here. You could be in an area where there isn't a presence when it comes to Scientology, but get the politicians on record, because it's powerful just to have any politician saying, yeah, this is a troubling organization. Was it Jamie Riskin or whoever it is? I can't remember his name. He's one Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he does a lot of criticism of the Church of Scientology, and that's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I encourage people. I'm going to do it myself, just to make sure that it can, I can like create a model of it. But I encourage other people to do it too. Ask your local politicians, should the Church of Scientology keep their tax exempt status? Post it online. If I see it, I will boost it as much as possible. I know you will too, and Aaron will too, and others will too. ask these questions, get them on record, and I think that will have, over the course of time, whether it might not be as slow as people think. It might cause a huge wave. It could be one of those things that just goes viral, becomes a meme, and everybody just starts asking it. So it's just, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a really organic way to do it too. And especially in Los Angeles, but everywhere too, people can ask your local politicians, get them to answer up, especially if you can get it in writing with an email, because you can then, like you said,
Yes.
share that. That's something that you can post. That's something that, their opponents could, like you said, I think after seeing what happened to Karen Bass, it's like, I can't imagine. I'm surprised that anybody in politics is willing to stand out there with Scientology.
Yeah. Listen, it's become synonymous with it's a cult, right? It's a cult. Everybody knows that. And nobody wants to, no politician wants to be associated with. Listen, how many celebrities do you see out there touting Scientology, right? You remember how we'd have Tom Cruise and John Travolta, but these days, how many celebrities do you see out there pushing the Church of Scientology? It's toxic. It'll ruin your career if you're associated. It's not going to help. They used to think it would be helpful back in the day. No, now it will ruin your career if you're associated with it. So, yeah, I mean, listen, get them on record. Get the politicians on record.
Yeah, today, especially today, you don't want to come off on the record as supporting Scientology. You may as well say, like, you've been to Epstein Island. Like it's gonna go as well.
Yeah, it's just pretty much it's about as toxic. So yeah.
That's a great way to put it too. It really is toxic. Have you seen any of the billboards or have you heard about them in LA? The Michael J. Rinder Aftermath Foundation got 20 billboards up.
Yeah.
Have you seen them out and about?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. And, listen, I know the Church of Scientology is probably calling the billboard companies, asking them to remove it or something. It's really got to piss them off. And, whenever you can do something like that and throw it right in their face, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. There have been people who saw even there was a Call Me billboard from years ago that Philip Jones, who's one of the people who's been involved with these billboards, did. His kids, have been in the Sea Org for over 10 years and disconnected from their family, from Phil and Willie. And in fact, Phil's coming on my channel tomorrow to talk more about the billboards. And they really worked hard at this to research the routes of where the buses go, alternative routes, so that you cannot avoid them.
I wonder if the buses are now rerouting even further. I would love to, or somebody else could follow the bus and see if they go past these areas, or if they're just going on taking these weird routes to get back to where they're going. Because I didn't know that they had actually researched where the buses were going, the routes they were taking. That's really smart. Yeah.
And even if they were walking, because it's Sea Org members, it's staff members, it's Scientology public. But they had some volunteers that put in a lot of work to figure out the best places to put these. They've been working on this since a year ago when the one billboard went up at the Blue Buildings, and then Scientology pitched a fit, and the company took it down in the middle of the night. And you want to go and you want to take down one. Well, now you've got 20.
Yeah. That's where you end up at. If they had just left that one up, maybe it would have just, it wouldn't have sparked the desire to put up so many. Because I know how I feel. You took down one of mine. Okay, now you're going to get 20 more. I wonder if there's a lot of that behind it. So yeah, good job, Scientology.
Yeah, no, I totally think that there is. Tori did a tour of the billboards too. I got to go check out her whole video, but went around trying to see as many as possible. I know Dan Walks LA did that with Laura FM too, going around and seeing the billboards. That's been really neat because then people who aren't in LA can still see the billboards. I thought that was cool. Did you hear at all about what happened in Clearwater where Scientology is trying to buy a street from the city?
Yeah, that's outrageous.
Yeah, they want to buy this street for 1.3 million that they don't need to put up their building. And there was a city council meeting. Multiple people spoke. Aaron spoke at it. He did a great job. Multiple people did an outstanding job as well, speaking on it. But it's another situation where I think they thought they could just kind of just go in and behind the scenes do this.
I love seeing them take those losses too. It's got to sting a little bit.
Yeah, and now there is a an alternative proposal that's been proposed by another group, and the council voted to give it another 30 days so that they can better understand the new proposal and make a decision. Well, at least it postponed things by 30 days. And I think I don't know how they can. I'll be shocked. A part of me feels like, they're gonna sell it. They're just gonna do it because there's 5 on the council. 2 of them are related, and they're 2 of the 3 who were pro selling the street to Scientology.
Okay.
It's like,
I was under the impression that they might not. So I guess that's
well, I think they still might not. I think this alternative proposal is amazing.
okay.
And I think that alternative proposal can gain a lot of support that could put more pressure too on the council to not, even if they don't accept the alternative proposal, that to just not sell it to Scientology. It gives them kind of a bit of an out. Like, how do you have that level of public uproar about it? And I mean, it was standing room only, and you want to sit there and vote for this? You obviously don't want to stay in office.
How's it in the public interest? That's the thing. Yeah, it's in Scientology's interest, but how's it in the public interest? What do they get out of this?
Yeah, nothing. Even the mayor was saying he doesn't even understand why Scientology wants the street. He doesn't know. It makes no sense. Going back to Karen Bass for a moment. Karen Bass, that same event that she spoke at, there were 2 other people that I wanted to talk about for a minute that spoke at the same event.
Okay.
There was, in fact, Karen Bass's. Here, I'm just going to pull up so we can see the image here, but I'm not even going to bother playing hers because we kind of already all know about that. But Sheriff Lee Baca,
but even well beyond
Baca, is that how you pronounce it? Do you know if it's
Baca?
Baca?
Yeah.
So Lee Baca was also one of the speakers at this event when they opened it was already open, but as an ideal organization. And I don't know if people know, but he is also the same person who ended up going to being sentenced to prison for, what was it? It was like obstruction of justice, I think.
Oh man, what he did was just really disturbing. So they had whistleblowers who were in jail who were going to testify against the sheriff's department. And the FBI came to the jails to interview them, and the sheriff's department refused to allow the FBI see the whistleblowers, refused to, then move them around and sort of took them off the grid where you couldn't find out where they were. But then it gets worse than that. So then the sheriff's department launched an investigation into the FBI agents that were investigating the sheriff's department. So Lee Baca was behind all that. It was really dirty. He was a real scoundrel. He ended up going to jail. He got out because I think he has dementia now. I don't think he's in a good place. But yeah, it's just funny that you'd have somebody like him speaking on behalf of the Church of Scientology, a guy who has quite a record.
Mm-hmm. In fact, the 3 people that spoke at that event were Karen Bass, who we've already discussed, now this sheriff guy, and then there was a third one. What was his name? Paul Cortez. Paul Cortez was the third person to speak at that Scientology event and sing their praises. And then Paul Cortez ended up getting in trouble for lying to federal agents, conspiracy and obstruction of justice. I don't know the outcome, but he was getting in trouble for it. So it's like, these are your 3 main speakers, Scientology, and they're all in legal trouble. I don't know about Karen Bass, but I mean, she's already,
Soon.
Yeah. Like, these are the people. So it really shows you too. It's like, this is your A team, Scientology. One of them went to jail. The other one got in legal trouble. And the other one is getting huge backlash from ever stepping foot on that stage to sing the praises of Scientology.
I'll tell you what, though, you will never get any speakers, any elected officials or public officials here in LA to ever speak in that capacity again. It'll just never happen.
Really? You think so? See, I hope so.
No, it would be the internet would break, and the local internet would break if they went and gave a speech at the Church of Scientology. It would be over for them, over.
Yeah. Just with everything going on and the backlash from Karen Bass.
Well, I think that we're in a different place when it comes to Church of Scientology now versus, say, 2010, right? Since then, people have been provided a lot of information about the Church of Scientology, all these documentaries and stuff that have come out, all the specials that have come out, the phenomenon on social media, YouTube and whatnot. We're at a point now where, I always say this all the time. I have multiple social media accounts, and when I do my cop watching stuff, I get a lot of negative messages saying, they want to do something to me because I'm too unfair to the cops or whatever. And then even when I have that silly robot account where I just make fun of robots, and I'll still get people to send me messages say, hey, leave those robots alone. I don't ever get that with the churches, with Scientology content. Nobody. It's something, hating on the Church of Scientology is something that can bring this whole country together, right? No matter what your ideology is, whether it's liberal or conservative, leftist, right-wing, moderate, whatever, no one has a favorable opinion of the Church of Scientology. So yeah, going out, you're already starting off with like 90% of people who are disliking them. You go and make a speech in front of them. It just doesn't, I don't think it can get more toxic than that. Like you said, the only other way you could become more toxic if you decide that you want to make a speech on behalf of, Epstein. Yeah, that's where it's at. It's that bad. So yeah, I don't see an elected official or even a public figure ever showing up at their events again. Never. Listen, we used to have, some of the senior lead officers over here, Tim Tallman and Brian White. They used to play guitar at their event. That now they come up to Brian White comes up to me. He's like, no, I'm never, I'm not doing that anymore. He's like, they're crazy. He would kind of say that they were crazy. He's trying to distance himself, but that's the point. He's trying to distance himself, where before he used to be up on a stage at their events, being love bombed and enjoying every minute of it. Now he wants nothing to do with it. So yeah, you will never see another politician speaking at their event, at least here in LA.
Yeah. And it does seem too, like I would imagine that just like with Officer White and other ones, that they're not going to want to be involved either because they're going to get publicly called out for it.
They want nothing to do with the Church of Scientology. Now, listen, in the course of doing their job, they may show some favoritism and stuff. But when it comes to like going to their public events and being involved, they don't want that. If somebody like me shows up, they don't want to have a video of them out there that's viral, that their kids and their friends and their neighbors will see of them being associated, or even worse, defending the Church of Scientology. They want nothing to do with that one.
Yeah. I actually really love that. I love that that it's just like that. And do you know, by the way, what's up with Tim Tallman? And for people who don't know, Tim Tallman is the officer who was very involved when Aaron Smith-Levin got picked up and chained to a bathroom stall in the jail.
Yeah, the only thing I know about Tim Tallman is I know that in December he was on an NBC News clip where I guess there was a small fire in Malibu, and somebody was saying that her neighbor, Tim Tallman, helped put out the fire, and he was all over. He jumped in front of the cameras and he was trying to soak it up. And so because of that, I purposely didn't post a video, because he's just, he was just attention whoring at the time. But I do know he lives in Malibu, and I have a feeling that his area may have been hit by the fires. I don't know. Other than that, I don't know anything. With that having been said, they adjudicated Aaron's case where they said that there was no misconduct or whatever. And I've been sitting on that, waiting for the right time. I'm going to bring that back up in front of the OIG. I'm going to force them to look into the case and see if it was properly adjudicated. I think it'll be hard for them to make the case that it is. But with a lot of stuff that I do when it comes to policing, timing matters. So sometimes you want to do it right at the right time when it's super relevant. And so, yeah, in the coming months, that will be addressed. I have 1 year from the time of the adjudication to sort of have it run through the OIG, and it will happen in the next, in the coming months.
Wow. What is the OIG?
Office of Inspector General. They're supposedly who do oversight over the LAPD. they don't really do a whole lot of that. But I think that with the right pressure and the things I have planned going up against them, this will fit in nicely with when making my case. Either they're going to properly look at it, or it's going to show that how the whole process is a joke and corrupt. So
Yeah.
one of those two things.
What would happen if they actually did look at it? If they looked at that case, that situation when Aaron was taken into custody, do you know what would happen? Well, like, when would it be an investigation? Like, what would actually happen?
Yeah, they would look and see if it was properly adjudicated. And if it's not properly adjudicated, then they can file complaints against the people who supervise the process. And that's a key thing, right? It'd be one thing to hold Tim Tallman accountable. At that point, it's too late now because it's been adjudicated, and the statute of limitations on holding them accountable are over. But that's only because the people who adjudicated the case itself, did the investigation, did such a piss poor job. So I want to hold them accountable. That way we make sure we don't have more Tim Tallmans in the future. So I think we can get something done there.
Oh, good. I wondered about that, if there was just anything else that could be done.
I don't let anything go. I never let it go, and when they think it's over, doesn't mean it's over, because then at a certain point it can play a process in the court of public opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the next time we see something happen with the LAPD, and you can bring this case up again, look how they handle this case with the Scientology critic, Aaron Smith-Levin. And, it'll be super relevant and helpful. It'll have an effect at some point.
Yeah, that's good. It seems like there's so many examples from the last year of times when, the LAPD behaved in ways that hopefully are not in alignment with department policy.
Well, I'm fighting one right now. They had an incident where Mindy Willens, some lady came over to her and smacked her, and her phone went flying.
Oh yeah, I remember that, in front of Celebrity Center.
Right. And the police came and picked her up, but they never took her to the police station. It seems that they drove her around the block, the lady who was arrested, and dropped her off and let her go, which would be a violation of LAPD policy. Then when Mindy went to the police station to try to get information about it, they told her that she could not film inside of there. And when I showed up, they told me the same thing. The Detective Rand cited PC 148G of the penal code, but PC 148G says that you have the explicit right to film the police in a public environment, and a police station lobby is a public environment. So he misquoted the law. He gave an unlawful order. I filed a complaint against that, and they said that he did not violate it. So what I've done now is I've appealed that to the Inspector General to do an investigation on not just him giving an illegal order, but the fact that they did not arrest the woman who had battered Mindy in the first place. This is at a time when the LAPD is trying to say that, oh, maybe we have a problem with crime statistics, is that people are not reporting these cases. No, they're reporting them, but you chose not to arrest them. And you're covering, and people who are politically connected or economically connected are able to get special favors, like the lady who was released around the corner. Why was she not brought to the station and booked like they would have done with anybody else if we had knocked the phone or hit somebody?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I'm glad that you don't let things go.
See, the thing is, I think the LAPD might think that I let things go, because I will sleep on things for 2-3 years. I'm very patient, super patient. And then I like to come back and hit it. And it just, it's a little bit of a mind game, but sometimes it's more effective to wait for a certain period when things are super relevant. When something's in the news and it's sort of, there's some sort of cohesion with what's going on in the news, you play it then, and it's much more effective. So it's not just lost in the void. So yeah, no, I let nothing go ever. I remember everything, even if they think I have not. I don't.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Lynette's got a great question. How did William get involved with filming the police? Was there a personal encounter involved?
Yeah, there was a protest that happened in Hollywood back during 2020, and they had a curfew that night and said everybody had to be home by 4:30. But they had a protest in, like, I guess you'd call it like the downtown part of Hollywood,
Yeah.
Sorry about that. In the downtown part of Hollywood, and when the protest was over, they told everybody they had to disperse. So everybody's ordering Ubers, but the problem is no Ubers were going to come and take 2,000, 3,000 people away. So they were trying to leave Hollywood walking, and the police said, no, we're going to enforce this curfew by just shooting people with pepper balls. And they were just like lighting up these kids with pepper balls. And then there was, down the street from my house, there was a group of kids. They kind of had them cornered, and they just started lighting off pepper balls into them, and they drove through the crowd. One kid got hit by it. He was bleeding from the mouth. And we drug him inside my gate to offer him some protection. I just remember him looking up to me and saying, I thought this was supposed to be nonviolent. He was a 17-year-old kid with braces and a pink hat. And it really kind of set me off. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to make these cops pay for that. And so I started cop watching. That was my way of getting some get back. And in the course of cop watching, my mind was blown. I did not have any idea that the policing was as bad or there was as much corruption as there ended up being. I was blown away by it. And then it became more than just cop watching. It became looking at, dealing with the police chief and the higher ups, because that's where the real sort of corruption and lack of accountability is at. So yeah, that's how I kind of got started in it.
Yeah. Over at kind of jumping back to the testing center, Itchy Thayton says Shannon has a new panic button for the doors. And it does seem that, how do you think they know? They seem to shut the doors before you get there. Like, do you think it's just cameras?
Yeah, I used to wonder. I'm like, Jessica and I are talking. I'm like, well, they must have put something in our phone. They close those doors quickly. But I've realized that they're operating it's the cameras, and I feel that they have somebody just operating them 24 hours a day, just looking at the cameras out in front to see if there's any suppressive people coming. Because it was frustrating. I would sneak up and come from different angles. They would close the door before I got there. I talked to the tour van guys. I'm like, was the door open before I came here? Like, yeah, they were just out here. I started wearing disguise. I thought, okay, maybe they're using facial recognition software. So I'd wear masks and different sunglasses. I tried all that, wasn't able to work. But, and I'll tell them this right now because there's nothing they can do about it. I found out if I could approach from one specific angle and hug the wall as I'm walking towards it. And the tour guys, they see me coming, so they provide a wall for cover for me now too. I can usually get up there and sneak. They got me. I couldn't sneak up on them this morning, but if there's a crowd walking, I kind of will duck my head a little bit and blend into the crowd, and I can catch them now. And there's not much they can do about it. So I guess they're just going to have to be on point, do a better job, or else I'm gonna film you.
Yeah, and those doors, I mean, those close fast too.
They close. They close they don't close slowly. They close quickly, and so yeah, no,
it's aggressive.
Frustrating sometimes, but I have a good time with it.
Have you seen Patrick Perry at all?
Every day.
Do you really run into him? Does he just not say anything?
No, he says, "Hey, how's it going?" and stuff, and and
like
I let bygones be bygones. It's just
He's another one where I wonder if, he would still support Scientology.
Well, he didn't support them enough to show up for court when they wanted him to come against Josiah. So I think he probably wants no part of it. Listen, that stuff, you don't want to be known as the person protecting the Church of Scientology out there. You don't. And these people have seen themselves on videos, and they would rather not.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. The Journey 2020 says Compton School District was infiltrated by Truth About Drug assemblies in an elementary and middle school. Compton is in LA. District confirmed message was received asking about it. Oh, I hadn't heard about that. Because, that's one of the ways they try to infiltrate schools is through the Truth About Drugs program.
Yeah.
And then, this works. Now we have study technology and bring your kids into the, their tutoring center that they have at Applied Scholastics. John Love calls it a Code William. That's what they do at the testing center. I bet you. Code William. And they're doing the same thing to Dan Walks LA as well. He's been having an issue catching them.
Anybody that comes over there with a camera, they're going to shut those doors. You walk up to Twilla, Shannon, wherever the older guy is, and you come up with your camera, they're going to turn around and hightail it back inside.
Yeah.
So I encourage more people to do it.
Yeah. And I think that's a great suggestion. Anybody who's interested in getting involved with the protest, just show up at a Scientology
Yeah.
org, or if you're in Hollywood, the testing center, and just start filming. You don't really have to do much except film
No.
and ask them questions. Any other tips you would give people who are thinking about starting protesting? Maybe some good best practices?
Here's one thing I would say is you don't have to live stream a protest. Protesting and live streaming itself is not protesting. Okay. Live streaming is a tool that protesters can use. I'll be honest with you, the reason why I started live streaming is because I was just using up too much of the memory of my phone by filming it.
Yeah.
I think you should always film your encounters for your own protection, because they're going to lie. They're going to claim that, like the other day where we said we were trying to burglarize the blue building, they're going to lie. So you want to document it, every encounter you have with them. People will say, why don't you have a private conversation without a camera? Absolutely not. At least have your phone in your pocket recording, because they will lie and then try to have you arrested. But yeah, but you don't have to live stream it. You don't. You could just being out there. And again, their goal is to come out at this location, at least, is to come out to the street and try to recruit people and make money. If by you just being there causes them to go inside, hey, spend a half an hour just standing out in front of there. Check your emails in front of there, whatever you're doing. Just stand there for 30 minutes, and that's 30 minutes they will not be out there recruiting.
Yeah, and it doesn't take that much time. Anonymous Lens says they'll be out there. I'll be there. I think that's really good advice. And I think we will see more people, not just in Hollywood, but at other Scientology organizations around the world and in the US as well, because it's not going anywhere. I mean, the protest, the interest in people are getting curious about Scientology, but not for the reason Scientology wants them to.
Right. Yeah. Listen, they're fighting a losing battle. And like everybody knows, this is, at the end of the day, attrition is going to take care of the Church of Scientology. They're not going to be able to recruit enough people to make up for the people that are lost, either from leaving or from old age or whatnot. The only thing what we can do is we can help speed up the process. And here's another thing I offer: just be smart about it. Understanding that this is a losing battle. The only thing that we can do is get in the way of that. It's a losing battle for them, so we can get in the way by giving them gifts. Make sure you stick to certain rules. Don't tear things up. Understanding that it's a PR battle. You want people at home who are watching this for the first time. You don't want to be seen as a crazy person. Okay. You want to highlight how crazy that they act, whether it be them running away or being combative or whatever it might be. Don't be that person. Try to be you could be funny, and you can be, you can have your confrontations, but do it in a healthy way. Do it in a way it's not going to embarrass yourself or other people, and do it in a way that's going to make people say, you know what, I want to be part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Aircat wants to know, do you think they will continue to have events next to the test center?
I was thinking about that. I think they flopped so bad for the Winter Wonderland this year. They were able to do nothing with it. They had their Santa out there, but very small crowds, and they weren't using the normal processes that they did in the past, where they would try to sneak them in the building and have them take a personality test to see the movie. They weren't doing any of that. So to me, I feel like they set up the Winter Wonderland more out of pride than anything else. Like, we're going to teach them, but nothing, listen, it costs money too, right? All setting up the place, getting the tree, I'm sure the electric bill is pretty high when you're running all of that. So maybe they will. I hope they do. I hope I could highlight the fact, because when they set up the Winter Wonderland, it just gives me a chance to tell people about what L. Ron Hubbard really had to say about Jesus Christ and stuff. And let's see if the Christians who are out there are happy with the words that he used. And it also shows that they're using another religion's holiday as a recruiting tool. So to me, it's helpful.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, maybe they'll do something for Easter. In fact, I would say pretty much just almost all Scientologists don't know the truth about L. Ron Hubbard. They don't know that what he was involved with Aleister Crowley and the black magic and the
Yeah.
sex magic and trying to bring about the Antichrist. I interviewed John Atack, who wrote the book, Let's Sell Them a Piece of Blue Sky. He's also a former Scientologist. And he said that basically L. Ron Hubbard, because I had heard this, that he wanted to bring about the Antichrist. But I didn't understand why. Like, why? And I asked John one day when we were doing a video, why? And he said that there's documentation that shows that L. Ron Hubbard believed that the second coming of Jesus meant an alien invasion from the Markabians. So he had to stop it by bringing about the Antichrist to make sure Jesus didn't come back, who was going to be leading an alien invasion.
So I'm gonna have to read that to people. That's gonna be one of my next videos. Trust me.
Yeah, and you won't find it. I mean, because Scientology, they don't make that known, and that's a crazy thing. Is people, and I can speak to it as a Scientologist. I didn't know half of what I knew now about the truth of the history of L. Ron Hubbard. We were not allowed to read it. We were not allowed to watch it. And now finding it out and interviewing people who have actual receipts to back it up. It's like, man, that man was never, from day one, it was all about the con and making money, in my opinion, and the opinion of many.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate this. I won't tie you up anymore. I'm so glad we were able to put this together. And absolutely, we'll do it again. We'll keep watching. I love what you had to say about just get out there and film and just keep it friendly.
Yeah. Listen, keep it friendly, keep it positive. Just again, say it for the a millionth time. It's a PR battle. You want to make sure you're on the right side of that PR. So you don't want to do anything that will, again, embarrass yourself and others. Constantly think about what should I be doing that would want other people to be involved with it, and they'll come out and you'll have a good time. And it'll be, listen, when we were at the test center doing those protests, that was a lot of fun, and it could be that way again. And if they keep on creeping out here, it will be that way again. That's a warning for them. And yeah, just like I said, keep it positive.
Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you a ton. And everybody, make sure if you want to piss off Scientology, hit that like button. William, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, go have that cult-free day.